always tell them, now you know me, you're going to get support. And then they watch their anxiety go. So, you're going to get support in what you're doing right now, but right now you're doing it individually. Okay, here's what I want you to do. Now, try to follow this as closely as possible. I know there's always leeway. You're going to find a partner. And let's say there's one area you didn't get to give much thought to, like collaboration. So you're going to go to this partner and you're going to say, what do you have on collaboration? Can you help me here? Or let's say there's an area you had a great idea for choice for this kid. So you're going to go to the partner and say, I just want to tell you about choice. You each can talk about 2 of these. You're really not going to have much more time than that. Okay? So find a partner. You're going to have 2 minutes and 5 seconds to talk about whatever you want to help you do a better job with this challenge. Ready? Find a partner. All right, listen to these instructions. It's important because you probably overheard what was going on at that table. So the 2 of you, and the 2 of you are going to rotate tables. What is this, clockwise? Is that counterclockwise? It's something. You're going to move this way. So let's do that right now. I'm going to tell you 2 what you're going to do in a minute. So you 2 over here, you 2 over here, you 2 over there. Just take your paper with you. That's all you need. You're going to come back to your place in a minute. Okay? Now, would one of you, each of you, split up and join one of these groups? Doesn't matter which one. Just join one of the large groups. Wait a minute. 2 had to move over here. 2 that were at this table, over here. There we go. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I should wait.
Yeah,
why did you yell at me?
I said, did I get potted?
Would one of you move? Because she's moving around with this broken foot. I'm sorry. Jeez, just yell at me.
Here, I can just go over there.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. Stay 5 right here. And then, all right. Okay. You have 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Listen, share airtime in this way. So, if you're like me, you don't want to be me in this group. Because I have a tendency to like to talk. A lot. So we're going to do a whip around. I'm sure you've heard that terminology before. And a whip around is you get to say one thing about this student and what you're going to do with it. One thing, one thing, one thing, one thing, stop. No discussion. This is tough now. So she says something that you just go, wow, I got to tell you more about that. No, you don't. You don't get to make a comment on what anybody else says. Each person in the group gets their statement. It can be 2 to 3 sentences, but no more than that. So think about what you want to say to this group about this problem and this situation. I'll give you some think time. But this is not a discussion. I don't think we're going to need any more than 2:05. I think that's going to be plenty. Okay, go. Start anywhere you want. Here's what I want you to think of first. The activity you just did, we call 1-2-4 and 4-2-1. You talk about scaffolding for kids. You can start out individually with a student answering a question or a problem or whatever that you've been working on. Then they get help from another student, they work together. Then they get help from a group, they work together. Then they return to their own and write the final draft. Look at all that scaffolding they got along the way. Look at all that help they got. You can do it the other way. Start in a group, large like this, working together, etc. Then to a group of 2, then by yourself. And one teacher went 1-2-4-2-1. I mean, there's all kinds of ways, but look at the scaffolding and the help you get. And look at the messages you're sending to kids. Yeah, I'm giving you assessment. It's a tough problem, but it's McDermott's class. I know he's going to help me. Okay, I know he's going to provide the scaffolding. He's not going to leave me hanging. They have to learn that, right? The first time I give them an assessment in my college class, they're like freaking out. I go, oh, jeez. But I want to model for them. I'm not going to leave you hanging. You know, and you can just see the ones that didn't do the reading, right? You can see them sitting there going, they're turning pale. They're like, oh my God, I'm going to fail this all. I never tell them ahead of time. I want them to feel that same anxiety that the kids in the classroom feel. It's not that we're trying to encourage them not to do the reading. It's not to try to say you're always going to be, but we're setting that caring classroom thing. So just what you went through here is a method that I think is a good method to support kids. But hopefully what you got to do now is you have a decent understanding of this framework just from these 2 sessions at this point. And what I want to do now is return to a couple of things. I want you to hear Brenna. All right? Let's get back to Brenna. And this is, I think, about 2 weeks later. Might be a little longer than that, but maybe she'll tell you on here.
So, after all of this, I decided to, I mean, at that point I was just ready to give up. I didn't know what to do, so I went to my professor, and he gave me some suggestions that I really wasn't excited about at first, but at that point in time I felt like things couldn't possibly get any worse, so I may as well try it. And he had suggested that I make phone calls home, positive phone calls home to every single student in that class. And at the time I was thinking, how am I going to do this? Because I really can't think of anything good to say about anybody right now, unfortunately, but that's how I felt. But I thought, well, whatever, I'm going to try it. So I did. I stayed after school for 2-3 hours, and I made phone calls home to every single kid's parent, and I basically just explained to them who I was, what I was doing, told them what we were going to be learning about, some of the sorts of activities that I had planned, and how I was really looking forward to getting to know their kids better. And I felt like we were going to have a lot of fun, even though I wasn't sure I believed that at the time. But these are the sorts of things that I would tell the parents when I called. And I finished phone calls, went home that day thinking, this is so stupid. There's no way that just by introducing myself to these people, why would that change how these kids behave in my class? But the very next time I had them, I was amazed. It was a complete turnaround. I didn't have people shouting out. I didn't have people disrespecting me. Not once. The whole day just went perfectly. And I could not believe it. I thought maybe I was just lucky. But then my professor laughed and said, of course not. It's because of the phone calls that you made. And he's right, because it wasn't just that one day. The whole class just turned around from that point forth. And to continue those relationships so that things didn't go back to the way they were, at that point I was able to start noticing things about my students. When they would do something good, I would make note of it, and I went to the dollar store and I just got a bunch of these little note cards that said, a note from your teacher. And I got certificates of excellence with a microscope on them. So every time somebody would do something good, I would write a very specific message to them about what specifically it was that they did that I noticed. And instead of just passing one out to everybody in class, like, oh yay, we're all special, I found them in the hallway after school or at lunch or just, outside of class. I would see them and I'd hand them this note and tell them good job. And you could just see the look in their face, like, wow, she actually noticed. She's paying attention to me. And it's just made a world of difference. These same kids, the one girl who would sit in the back of the classroom and just absolutely despised me at the beginning of the year, we are actually really good friends now, and she is constantly writing me thank you notes, and she bought me a really nice card the other day saying how much she's going to miss me, and she hopes I find a wonderful job somewhere. And the one student who was a prankster and would constantly be dancing and laughing and distracting the class. He is the first person now that when I have trouble getting the class quiet right away, he stands up every time and says, "Hey, my teacher is trying to talk. You need to be quiet." And everybody sits down and is quiet. He helps me pass out papers. The one student who was so sassy with me, who takes pride in breaking down her teachers, about a week ago she was being kind of sassy, and I said, "Oh, you like giving me a hard time, don't you?" And she said, "Yeah, miss, but I'm just kidding. You know you're my favorite teacher." So now I cry in this class a lot too, but it's for totally different reasons, because I'm just so thrilled at the difference all of these little things that I've done, which actually weren't nearly as hard as I thought they were going to be, have just made a tremendous difference. And what started out as being the most horrific class ever, in my opinion, is now my favorite class. And they are the best behaved academically and behaviorally, and it's just amazing. And I love them.
Time for a break.
In this class a lot too, but it's for totally different reasons, because I'm just so thrilled at the difference all of these little things that I've done, which actually weren't nearly as hard as I thought they were going to be, have just made a tremendous difference. And what started out as being the most horrific class ever, in my opinion, is now my favorite class. And they are the best behaved academically and behaviorally, and it's just amazing. And I love them.
Time for a break.